Okay, hi guys, I'm back and I'm ready to answer a question as best I can. And this question came from one of the members of our group, and they were asking about guides and spirit guides. And this seems to be a really massive issue because there's a lot of people who are desperate to meet their guides, and there's a lot of people who don't believe in guides, and there's a few people who will just accept anything. And one of the question that was put to me was basically, how dangerous is working with guides? And there seems to be a never-ending amount of mediums and people that are developing that will just accept anybody, and is there any dangers to it? And you know, what I want to basically put out there is that there is, of course. I mean, you hear in so many, in many cases back in even times past with other historical mediums, and they will mention time and time again of imposter spirits. We have Alex Kardec who spoke about imposter spirits. We have the Imperator Band who have talked about the dangers of spirits. And the problem that we have is people are so desperate to speak to their guides. I give you a little bit of an analogy. It's like when you were a kid, and when you're a kid, your mum tells you not to speak to strangers, because there's a danger in that. We know in this realm of many children that were abducted because they spoke to strangers, or strangers approached them, and you have this old stranger danger type thing. But it's kind of, there's a bit of a danger there in mediumship, because I know, and many of my colleagues know, that a lot of people are too willing and too ready to just accept anybody as a guide. The minute that they sit in meditation, they see someone in meditation, or they see an image of a person or of a deity or of somebody, and a lot of the times you're conjuring this up through your own ego or through your own mind, from your own desires, your desperation to have a guide. And so many people are actually so desperate to meet their guides that they'll almost do anything to try and make that happen. And in this talk, I'm not going to teach how to actually meet with your guide. That's in another lesson. What I'm going to teach about is not to just accept anything and anybody as your guide. One of the things that I teach to students, and one of the things that I talk to everyone about, even people that come to me for sittings and they ask me about guides, there isn't really a necessity for you to actually know who your guide is, because at the end of the day, you're developing your own spirit, you're developing your own soul, you're developing your wisdom, and you're utilizing your divine power, your divine knowledge and intuition. And that is enough to guide you in normal life. Why would we want to recognize our guides? If we decide that we're taking more of a spiritual path, if we decide that we're developing mediumship, or we're working more in a spirit context, then we may want to develop that relationship, because they'll work with us on a deeper level. But you don't just accept anybody, and there's a lot of people that will go into meditation, or they go into groups, and whoever they think they are having as a guide, they instantly accept them. Here's where the danger lies. If you put out an intention that you want to meet with a guide, or you put out an intention that you are communicating with spirit and you're open to receiving a guide, again, and I had a great radio show today, podcast show today with a friend of mine, Gavin, and we spoke about this. You put out an intention, you're putting out an intention there to communicate with those on the other side. And your vibration is not often what you think your vibration is at. And one of the things that I've made sure of, that if I develop a relationship with my guides over a very, very long time, and I learn to trust them, and I learn to build my divinity, my divine authority, and I feel my discernment becomes stronger and stronger, and I know if that person is who they say they are. And I also ask for evidence, and a lot of people don't even ask for evidence for their guides. And then when they do get evidence, it's normally something that is so innocuous that it could fit anywhere. You see, there is a danger, there's a very real danger of your desperation putting out an intention to reach out to guides, and you may get, you're not necessarily going to get, demonic entities that are going to start to attract to you. There's a spiritual law that goes with that. There's a modus operandi that happens with that. But it could happen. I mean, it could, a very long shot. I mean, it could happen. You could end up attracting something really malevolent. But 9 times out of 10, when people are reaching out and trying to communicate with guides, oftentimes, you can be misled by imposter spirits or grounded entities, grounded spirits who just want to have a bit of fun with you. And they can see from your energy, they can see from your aura, you're giving out the signals that you want to communicate, and they will almost read what you're putting out there, and they will essentially give you what you want. That can start a relationship that can become very dangerous. And I know people have approached me in the past and they've said that, I thought I was developing a relationship with my guide, but it's changed. And this relationship doesn't feel the same. There's more negative thoughts that are coming to me. There's more worries and concerns, and I'm feeling things that I ought to not feel, or I feel as if I'm compelled to do things or to react in ways that I would not normally do. That's one of the, that's quite a warning bell there. Yes, I mean, there's times where we're developing as mediums, or we're developing spiritually. We don't have to develop mediumship to be able to work with guides, but we're developing healing, or we're developing ourselves spiritually, and we want to have a communication, or we want to have a relationship with that spirit on the other side, because we're assigned a guide, from the day that we incarnate on this earth. But there's not a necessity for you to know your guide, because you'll still develop in the same way that you want to develop. It depends on the circumstances and the reasons behind it. And a lot of people, and there's a lot of danger of guide worship, where you tend to then forget reality of divinity within you, and going to God first. And building your relationship up with the divine that way, and tend to then go into this guide worship. And the other thing is that your guide doesn't have to be a Native American Indian. It doesn't have to be someone famous, and it's not going to be Jesus Christ or somebody like this. Your guide could be little Joe from down the street, who's passed many years ago and was spiritually evolved. So the thing is that we, our desires often fulfill what we are hoping for. And so sometimes even the guides on the other side are not actually, Native Americans, but, they'll allow you to feel that if indeed that's what you're going to be comfortable with, or that's a deity that, that's an idea or a concept that you're comfortable with. But there is a danger, and I would say, if you're going to try and develop relationships with your guide, then don't just accept anything. And there's so many mediums that do. They'll sit in circle and they'll get at meditation, and they're so excited about seeing a Native American. They're so excited about seeing these guides, and that's it. They accept that spirit blindly and unrationally. And basically that can be a developing relationship, not over days, not over weeks, but over years. And slowly things can start to change in your life they're so subtle you might not even notice them, and you don't think that you're actually being influenced by a spirit on the other side. And God forbid that it should actually be a malevolent force that is trying to control you, subjugate you, or look at obsessing you. And you can tell this in your as you develop more discernment. You start to feel energies and feelings and emotions, intuitive signals that are warning bells that you would not necessarily have developed hadn't you started to develop your discernment and your relationship with spirit. So it's brilliant to work with spirit guides. It's great to do that, but only in the right way. And one of the things that I've always said is that we should essentially test our guides and keep testing our guides, because they don't own us and we don't own them. They still have their own will. They have a job to do. But if you are putting out the wrong vibration, you could attract the wrong vibration back, or the wrong spirit back, and they can start to develop a relationship with you over a long time. Now, if you have had a negative experience with someone who's purported to be a guide, or you have been sitting in a circle and had negative experiences that way, then let me know about it. Let me know in the comments below, or contact me privately through my website, and there'll be another form and link that I'll put below that you can actually fill in a form confidentially to communicate your experience and get a little bit of help from that and understanding. So, you know, whilst it's, you know, guides seem to be, especially in the New Age movement, the guides seem to be the thing that everybody wants to have a relationship with. It is not necessary for you to have a relationship with a guide in order to develop yourself spiritually, and to develop your discernment and to develop your mediumship abilities, your mediumship capacity. They are there to help you in your communication. They're there to help you in your development. But you have to make sure that you are attracting the right guide. There are so many mediums that say, you know, I've never had a problem. I've never had a bad guide, or I don't believe in it. You know, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you believe in it or not. It doesn't stop the existence of an evil force. It doesn't stop the existence of bad spirits, whether you believe it. And sometimes when you think, well, I say a prayer and I'm protected, your vibration may be saying something different. So it's important that you're continually working on yourself on a regular basis, every day. You're working to develop your discernment. You're working to develop your own internal power, and you're working to, you know, recognize your thought processes, and you're trying to keep as positive as you possibly can. How you speak to people, how you relate with people, how you relate to your thoughts as well. You know, you're recognizing the difference, those subtle differences, those subtle changes in that vibration. It's wonderful to develop a relationship with a guide. I developed a relationship with a couple of guides, but it's taken a very, very long time. And even to this day, I still test them. And other mediums may not, and they just accept it, you know, blindly, which I think is very silly. Because we've had guides on the other side that are wrong. I mean, you look at Red Cloud years ago, when Red Cloud came through in a seance and said that World War II wouldn't start, and lo and behold, it started. You know, and we have Edgar Cayce, who warns us about imposter spirits and warns us about demonic entities. You know, it's there even before religion, in Mesopotamia times, Sumerian times. You know, we have history that goes back way beyond religion. So it's not a religious thing. So, you know, whether you believe in evil or not doesn't stop it existing. Whether you believe in demons or not, they believe in you. So it doesn't really matter. What I would suggest is that you just take some precaution. You know, you work on yourself and your awareness, and you work on developing your inner power. You work on developing your spirit. You work on developing your vibration and your harmony, and every single way that you react to everything, thoughts, people, how even when you're reading, what you're reading, what are you taking in, what are you consuming, starting to recognize the change in the vibrations, and that helps with your discernment. And by all means, you know, develop a relationship with a guide. And I will do this in another lesson. I will teach you how to recognize and work with your guides, and how to do it properly over a long period of time, rather than just sitting in a circle and accepting the first image or the first vibration that comes to you. Believe you me, there can be guides out there, and I have, you know, I know for a fact in certain aspects that there is guides that are purporting to be guides of the light, and they're not. And it slowly starts to take shape over you know, a period of time. And as I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be demonic. It can be a grounded spirit. It could be, you know, spirits who are not crossing over to the light but are still mischievous, still have a negative vibration. And you know, whilst we have the spiritual law of like attracts like, you've got to be aware of your vibration all the time. And that's another lesson that I'm going to talk about, because there is a caveat in that, and I'll be bringing that up in another video. So if you have a question about guides, if you understand the importance of developing the relationship in the right way, then let me know what you think. Let me know if you think someone that you know is just taking anybody and everybody as a guide. And sometimes you'll also recognize that some people who choose their guides or work with their guides, they can't live their own life. They're continually asking their guide everything, you know. Should I turn left? Should I turn right? Should I buy these potatoes at the grocery store? Should I do that? That means you have no responsibility in your life. Your guide is not there to give you answers to every single thing. Not there to tell you what to eat. Not there to actually interfere with your own will. So, don't have guide worship. They're there to do a job. Even when I do, you know, years ago, I was, you know, when I was doing regular sittings, I would kind of have arguments with my guide. I had arguments with my team. My wife does as well, and I would kind of demand certain things, you know. And I learned my lessons over the years. You know, I learned to develop my relationship, and I was taught lessons as well. And, you know, just take it from me. Just take whatever knowledge or wisdom that I've shared, even if it's only a couple of things that will help you in your path, then please do that. But don't just accept anybody. You know, think about the analogy of the danger. You know, it's like a kid, you say, don't touch that fire, and they touch the fire, and they find out very quickly that the reason they were told not to touch the fire is because they'll get burned. Don't accept sweets from strangers. You wouldn't leave your door open willy-nilly for anybody to come in. It's the same with the self, it's the same with your spirit. You have to take security precautions there as well. You have to, even if you think you're at a vibration. There has been many saintly people and very highly developed spiritual people that have experienced negative experiences from the other side. So it's not all about, as I said in Deadly Departed, it is not all about the Gucci handbag syndrome. It's the coolest thing to do. Have a guide, develop a guide, and live your life by the guide. You don't do that. And mediums shouldn't just accept anyone as a guide, and you shouldn't. Don't accept sweeps from strangers. That's what I'll say. If you have got a question, as I said before, then just put the comments down. Make sure you like the video and make sure you subscribe. And ask any questions at all. If you want to go deeper with this, then I'm very open to do that. Guys, have a wonderful day, and I shall be back very soon with more answers to questions that come in. God bless.